Today on Callout, Rossland SAR is on a late-night search for two missing skiers.
They might be there and we're hoping for the best.
And later, it's man versus nature for Comox Valley SAR rookies.
It rained probably 1.5 to 2 inches last night, just torrential downpour.
Saturday, 9:40 p.m. Rossland and District Search and Rescue is coordinating a late-night mission from its mobile command center. Two experienced backcountry skiers are missing near the Red Mountain Resort, located 3 kilometers north of town. Area residents Bob Reardon and Marie-Claude Germain were reported overdue when they didn't show up for a 7 p.m. dinner engagement. Local RCMP have pinged both subjects' cell phones.
Oh, that's great. That helps us a lot.
Marie-Claude's cell has sent back a signal to the closest cell tower, which is located on the top of Red Mountain, placing her phone somewhere along a 2-kilometer radius of the tower.
We went to the map table and drew a compass circle. With that information, it showed a couple sites of intense bush at the bottom of the mountain in places people could be lost. The ping has set us on this radius. We've got an area here at the base of Roberts, which we're going to have to look at. We have an area over here at the base of Gray. Let's get teams on both those to start. That's our highest probability, and we'll check all the perimeter.
Members on skis, snowshoes, and snowmobiles are sent into the night to search the 2 high-probability areas, which are difficult to access. Meanwhile, trucks equipped with sirens and flashing lights drive along service roads with the goal of drawing out the missing subjects.
We're hoping to sound and track them. Our probability is very high that they might be there and we're hoping for the best.
The search continues late into the night with no result. SAR managers begin to suspect that the subject may not be carrying her cell phone.
Real high probability now.
We'd searched the area thoroughly enough that if they were in the area where the ping was, they would have heard or seen us and we would have found them already.
2 a.m. Dave decides to call the teams back to base and stand down for the night.
6:30 or 7 tomorrow morning.
With temperatures hovering around -15 degrees Celsius and a forecast calling for more snow, hypothermia is a major concern, as is dehydration.
Once someone becomes dehydrated, they start losing their senses and definitely do not think clearly, so it's a real concern. If you eat snow, it uses more energy than you get from it. You become more dehydrated.
Day 2, 7:05 a.m. The clouds have cleared, giving hope that the missing subjects will be able to find their way out, if they've survived the chilly night. Approximately 40 members from Rossland, Castlegar, South Columbia, and Nelson SAR are responding to the call-out. To accommodate the extra troops, the mission is being staged from one of the parking lots at the Red Mountain Resort. As the teams sign in and gear up, the RCMP once again attempt to trace Marie-Claude's cell phone. This time, the ping locates the phone exactly 1.2 kilometers from the cell tower on Red Mountain.
I happened to know where the subject's house was, and when we drew that circle on the map, the line went right through the house.
A constable from the RCMP drives to Marie-Claude's house and confirms what Dave had been suspecting for a while.
She phoned and heard the phone ringing and said, "The phone is in the house, they're not here." And that's when we threw the pinging and the cell phone out the window and continued.
Yeah, okay, and
all we knew was that they had their turn gear and hadn't came back. They could have easily gone off the backside of Gray or off Kirkup or off Record or any of the other mountains which lead into different drainages. So we had to basically check every drainage to look for tracks to see if someone was where they shouldn't be.
Teams on skis and snowshoes are airlifted by helicopter to remote areas.
We sent teams up to all the mountaintops. The winds had come up and it had blown the tracks away off the ridgetop, so we had to drop below the ridgetop down to tree line to look for tracks going in the wrong direction where people do not normally ski.
Since there are no radio repeaters on these outlying mountains, snowmobile teams are deployed along Sheep Creek to relay communication between the command center and teams on the ground.
We'll be contacting sled team down in Sheep Creek once you
For this search mission, local knowledge of the terrain is extremely valuable.
Being local, you know where people usually go, and you know where they don't go. So what we look for is what's out of normal, what's unusual. Where is it that this doesn't look quite right? If you don't know what the normal is, you wouldn't know which track to follow, and there's lots of them going everywhere.
12:11 p.m. The two subjects have been missing for 24 hours now. SAR managers decide to expand the search further north into the outer limits of Grey Mountain.
As we were dropping a team off on a remoter ridge line, we noticed tracks went beyond any normal ski track and down into the creek.
Yeah, and you'll see some fresh tracks going right over the top of them there. Perfect, follow those fresh tracks.
The tracks look very promising. However, they appear to be entering very steep and dangerous terrain.
Gnarly terrain. Very, yeah. Oh, there's a help. That was good to see. Yeah, they were thinking.
As we followed those tracks, we saw help written in the snow in large letters, and then we knew we were on them, and we just kept following the boot tracks until we spotted them.
Search space, this is Delta.
Delta, you're coming in 5x5. This is command. Go ahead.
We can stand down everyone else and bring them all home, and we'll do a heli-evac to their location.
After notifying SAR base, the helicopter drops off the ground SAR members in the closest clearing, about a 25-minute trek from the subjects, and returns to the staging area to avoid wasting fuel. The snowmobile teams, acting as radio repeaters in Sheep Creek, stand by for the call. Nearly an hour later, word finally comes through that they are ready for pickup.
Whether they've located the subjects or not?
Yes, they have. They found them in the creek.
Yes.
Dave and the helicopter pilot return to the pickup point and move in for a hover entry. The pilot carefully places one skid on the ground, and the passengers slowly ease themselves in.
Well done, it's sure good to see you guys.
They were a bit dehydrated, they were hungry, they were cold, but in all good form, they were in great shape, and they were ecstatic that we found them. And they came to the command center, and we chatted about what happened and what they did and what they might do in the future.
We started down and somehow we got veered off to the left.
Bob and Marie-Claude had set out to do one run down the east side of Grey Mountain. But when they were slammed by a snow squall, they skied down the wrong side and found themselves at the bottom of a ravine with no way out.
I felt frustrated, but at the same time I kind of decided that we had to stay for the night.
There wasn't enough snow to dig out a snow cave, so they made a bed of branches to protect them from the cold.
Within maybe 15-20 minutes, we realized we couldn't warm up, so that wasn't a good idea. We worried about hypothermia and decided that we just had to stay up all night and warm up.
They spent the next 14 hours coming up with some very creative ways to stay warm.
We did some dancing at my iPhone, which was good for nothing else but music, so we did have music, and spent the whole night there and on a little path we had down to another tree that we used. We called it our gym, and just bent branches and swung. We probably spent 4 hours in that tree.
Basically, that's how we're able to keep warm, as well as walking back and forth, you know, up a little hill.
At first light, they began ascending the steep ravine to get over to the other side of the mountain. When they came to a small opening in the trees, Marie-Claude decided to carve out a help sign with her ski pole.
I started panicking for sure. It would have been difficult for me to spend another night in the cold, without food, and with little energy left.
Fortunately, search and rescue found them soon after.
When we spotted them, we all did high fives and everyone was elated. When you can get them alive, that's what we're after. We want live finds, and we're willing to go out at night, anytime, in any weather, and we're trained to do it.
Now, it's man versus nature as Comox Valley SAR rookies learn to survive in the wild.
Why bring the branches if I could bring the whole tree?
I'm going to hike with him.
If you ever find yourself stranded overnight in the wilderness, how much survival knowledge you have may ultimately determine whether or not you'll make it out alive. And that's no different for search and rescue crews who brave the most remote areas to find missing persons.
This is something that is a mandatory part of our basic search and rescue course. If we're going to drop these people off in places, and around here we use helicopters a fair bit, so we'll fly them in the mid-afternoon into an area. You know, the plan is we'll bring them back out at the end of the day, but quite often they'll end up spending the night.
I've got a bunch of different things for...
Therefore, search and rescue crews on a call-out always carry packs loaded with survival gear, including fire starters, first aid kits, and tarps.
So we like to see, as a minimum, everybody has a 24-hour amount of kit.
Today, Comox Valley SAR members are on Vancouver Island's Mount Washington to learn how to stay warm and keep dry, using only what they've got on hand.
This is something that I've wanted to do a lot, and I do like being outside, and I've camped, but I've never had to go off on my own like this. I'd like to be prepared for that.
32 years of service in the forces. I had experience with fires, but I never knew what kind of wood it was, like fir, cedar was best, or like details like this I didn't know.
Surviving a night out on the Canadian West Coast, known for its wet climate, hinges primarily on two things: making a fire and building a shelter. To make a substantial fire that will last through the night, three types of material are needed: tinder, which easily ignites with a small spark; kindling, which keeps the flame going; and wood, which fuels the fire.
So we come over here and we're looking at, in this tree, this kind of moss. This stuff works okay. This is what's called old man's beard. See the lighter yellowy color?
And
that's fallen out of the tree.
Too.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And if there does happen to be any moisture in it, you give it a shake and all the moisture comes out, and put it underneath as you're kindling, and you light this stuff and the flame just goes right through it in a hurry.
Partially decomposed stumps are also great for starting a fire quickly. A stump can be hollowed out and its shavings used as tinder and kindling.
Wood, which also burns really well. So if, in a pinch, this stuff, if you took it and shredded it with your knife really fine, it'll start going pretty good. One of the things you can do is you get a stump like this. We could actually set fire to this stump, and that stump would burn probably for 14 or 16 hours. So we could pile some wood on it and make a really nice fire. So looking at this tree, see how nice and high up it is? So it's been kept off of the ground. If it's on the ground, it's going to get really wet. And a lot of times what happens is this bark will act as a bit of a shield. When you pull this stuff off, the stuff that's on the bottom will actually be fairly dry.
One way of telling which variety of tree burns well is by smelling its resin, also known as pitch.
Smell of fir. That's great stuff. Fir has a fairly high smell, and the smell is produced by the pitch, and the pitch is what burns really, really well. So if you get something that smells really strong and kind of like turpentine sort of smell, that's where you get a really good burning wood. So fir is the one that smells strong, and the best wood for starting a fire is usually cedar, and cedar is a very strong smelling quick burning wood, so good for starting a fire, but it won't hold a fire for very long at all. Nice and light wood. Now the next thing you can look at with this kind of a tree to get the fire going, you may cut a couple of small chunks and then split it. So use your axe splitter.
SAR members are often advised to collect 2 or 3 times the amount of wood they think they will need to survive the long, cold night. Running out of firewood at 3 a.m. can be dangerous.
When we're cutting firewood for the fire, normally what you'll do is you'll cut about whatever size you could carry. So if you could grab one end of it and drag a 6-foot chunk, that's probably the size you would put, just to save on the amount of cutting. Right. And then once the fire is built, you put the end into the fire, and then you just keep moving it forward as you go. Yeah. This that Chris is doing is called feathering, a very handy way to turn a piece of wood into a starting stick. I'm going to use one of the chemical starters, one little cube, usually more than enough to get a fire going. So put it in as our base, and then as it burns we're going to add little bits of wood to it in a short, small time so that we don't put so much wood that it goes out, but not so little that it burns out before it gets to the next level. And we have a fire that now, you know, we can now go to this size stick and keep going more and more and more, and we'll have a good sized fire to go for the night.
While the trainees were learning about fire, survival course assistants Deb and Oli have been building rudimentary shelters using only a tarp, some rope, and a little bit of imagination.
This is probably one of our favorite shelters here in this area of the coast. Notice how what they've done is they found a pole, lashed it between the two trees so it's tied up nice and tight, and they've put the tarp over top of it. They've lined the bottom with some insulative material. The fire would go right here, so you've got a spot where you can lay 3 or 4 people and you've got a good shelter.
There are many things to look for when building a shelter. SAR members have to note wind direction and the potential for it to change overnight. It's also important to be aware of surrounding trees. If they're old and damaged, their branches may snap and crash to the ground. As for location, ideal ones are on higher ground to avoid flooding, but close to a source of drinking water and near a clearing for helicopter evacuation.
Okay, let's go have a look at a little different...
After seeing the single-pole shelter example, the trainees move over to see a smaller tripod version that is slightly more complicated, but better for colder, more extreme conditions.
So to build this one, you take your 2 cross pieces here that you see at the front and add a third. So there's 2 crossed right straight up and down on the front with a pole that goes on the back.
That would be standard. We decided we'd like a little bit more structural support.
So these are the 2 that we want you guys to know how to do.
Okay.
So pick, when you actually go to build your shelter for tonight, pick one of the 2 to build.
I'm ready.
With dusk fast approaching, the trainees must now square off and see who can build a campsite fastest.
There's a spot with some logs, so I think we can make a shelter there.
Team A's priority is finding a location.
I like this spot because it's nice and flat.
Yeah.
There's not too many big, huge trees that are downfalling, and there's a bit of a windbreak.
Right. Well, and it's not a real low spot, right? So we're not going to get water if the rain comes back.
It's fairly high, it's fairly smooth and level. Won't take too much to clean it up, so we can get some place to lay down. So we're going with the tripod that has the 2 cross sticks and the main pole going down towards the back end of this open area. The wind is a southeaster tonight, and it's going to be whipping up, so we want to make sure, first of all, there's no dead trees that can snap off and hit us in the head.
Team B, which is prioritizing fire, looks for tinder.
Grab that old man's beer right there.
Yeah, you can see them picking it up as we go along. The light's coming on a few times with some of the stuff we've done. Even some of the people that have experience learning new stuff. A lot of fun as an instructor to see that.
You see the difference? The one here is dry and this one is all wet. But they say it should start the fire anyway.
We can even make that a little bit narrower.
Oh yeah, make it taller? Oh, lower, okay.
Factoring in the weather, Team B switches gear and decide to set up a single pole shelter before gathering firewood.
We know that the rain's coming, so we gotta get our beds ready.
Finally, it's gonna turn out pretty good.
Sorry, make the fire right here.
Oh yeah? Tarp here after.
Oh, you got the blanket, perfect.
So what do you think? You guys set up not too badly?
Yeah, the big thing is the wind.
Yeah.
The wind comes like this.
Well, this dead tree was about to fall over, and I was trying to break some branches off it. And I thought, why bring the branches if I could bring the whole tree?
I'm going to hike with him. No pressure for you guys, but I see the campers beside you have smoke already.
Mm-hmm.
Grant hurries back with firewood. Minutes later, Team B has its own toasty fire going, and not a minute too soon. The rain is starting to come down.
Very nice.
Perfect.
This is very nicely done.
Yeah, good job, gang. Congratulations.
Nice.
Well done, partner.
We're gonna call it a day. We've got our shelter built, fire's going, and we're gonna climb in.
Both camps are up and running in less than an hour. They may not be five-star accommodation, but they serve their purpose, keeping SAR members and their subjects warm and dry until help arrives.
Today now they've easily picked up on how to build a fire, where to find wood, how to build a shelter, and from what we see here and what they've got set up, they're easily set up to be able to spend the night.
Callout Search and Rescue features real stories filmed live by search and rescue teams during actual missions. Find out more at calloutsar.tv.